Hey guys, if you like my videos, please like and subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate it, thanks. Also, don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss a chilling new story when it drops. There's a moment, right before everything goes to hell, where your gut gives you a courtesy tap, a little hey maybe let's not. And like any dumbass in a horror story, I ignored it. We were supposed to be doing a nice 3-day loop on the Appalachian Trail, nothing too intense. Just enough wilderness to feel manly, not enough to die doing it. My hiking partner Marcus called it a reset trip. I called it a chance to avoid emails, clients, and the human tragedy that is online dating. Everything was normal until we hit the fork. No signage, just a weather-warped trailhead with one word carved into the wood, like someone had scratched it in with a hunting knife. Echo. Marcus squinted at it. You ever hear of this branch? Nope, I said, already regretting saying it. He grinned, adjusting his pack. Want to check it out? That was the gut tap moment. I should have said no. Should have made up something about a sore knee or a gut parasite. But I'm competitive, and Marcus is the kind of guy who runs ultramarathons for fun. I couldn't let him see me hesitate, so I shrugged. Why not? Sounds scenic. The trail was narrow, overgrown, like it hadn't been walked in decades. The air got heavy quick, like we stepped behind some invisible curtain. I cracked a joke about stumbling into Narnia's attic. Marcus didn't laugh. 10 minutes in, our phones lost all signal, which, fine. That happens out here. But then the GPS apps went full blank. And the compasses, his fancy analog one and my budget Amazon clickbait special, started spinning like casino wheels. Maybe there's iron in the rocks? Marcus offered. He was always full of rational answers. It made him a great guy to hike with and a terrible guy to argue with. Sure, I said. Maybe the rocks are very excited. That was the first thing that echoed. I said it lightly, like I was trying to break the tension. But then a second later, from deep in the woods, very excited. We both froze. Marcus looked at me like I was messing with him. I looked at him like he was messing with me. We were both wrong. Probably some weird reverb, he muttered, clearly not believing it. Natural acoustics. Right, I said. Forest reverb. Happens all the time in horror movies. We laughed, nervously. We kept walking. The air got stiller, the trees denser. That normal background soundtrack of forest life. Birds chirping, squirrels chittering, leaves rustling. Just stopped. Dude, I said, where are the birds? Maybe it's just the time of day. Right. The birds unionized and took their mandated silence break. And again, soft like breath on bark. Silence break. We stopped walking. This time I whispered, okay, either some teenager is screwing with us or we just entered the Blair Witches group chat. Marcus looked around, lips pressed tight. Sound carries weird in the woods. Yeah, but it's not carrying. It's repeating, like it's trying to remember the lines. That earned me a side eye. We moved on, slower now. We tried yelling random phrases, clapping, testing for echoes. Sometimes we'd get nothing. Sometimes we'd get our own words, mangled and delayed, like a toddler repeating adult talk it doesn't understand. At one point Marcus shouted, hello, into the trees. The forest answered back, oh, low. That was when we both agreed not to shout again. We should have turned back. We wanted to. But Echo Trail, like everything cursed and ancient, knew how to hold on to fools once it had them. And we were fools. Big, echo-loving, gut-ignoring fools. You don't realize how much comfort background noise gives you until it's gone. The forest was dead silent now. No wind, no insects, not even the subtle creak of swaying trees. Just us, our boots crunching twigs, and the occasional paranoid glance over the shoulder. I cleared my throat at one point just to make a sound. It felt like I was trespassing on something older than footsteps and less welcoming than a bear with cubs. Marcus broke the silence. We're being idiots. Let's just backtrack. I sighed with relief. Music to my ears. We turned around and nearly walked into the same twisted pine that marked the start of Echo Trail. Except we hadn't turned enough for that. I looked behind us. The trail looped in a way that made no sense. Did we? No, Marcus said, cutting me off. We didn't turn. That wasn't there before. We stared at the pine like it had grown legs and scurried ahead of us just to mess with our sense of direction. I half expected it to start breathing, We pressed forward, following what we thought was back the way we came. I started marking trees with bits of colored cord from my pack, old backpacking trick. You'd think in 2025 we wouldn't need to rely on Boy Scout voodoo, but here we were, channeling our inner survivalist dads. About 10 minutes later, we passed one of my cords, on the wrong side of the tree. "Okay," I said, "that's impossible." Marcus said nothing, just stared at it like it had personally offended him. I tried to joke. Maybe there's a second tree that looks exactly the same and got exactly the same red cord tied in exactly the same place. "Maybe you tied it wrong. Maybe your face is wrong." The forest, as if listening, whispered back softly, "Face is wrong." We both froze again. Marcus whispered, "Did you say that?" "I thought you did." We stared at each other, dead quiet. I could almost hear his pulse. Then the echo came again, louder this time, with a strange confidence. "Face is wrong." The bark on the trees suddenly looked darker, wetter. I blinked and tried to shake it off. "All right," I said. "We leave. Now. Forget the map. Forget this trail. Straight line that way until we hit the real trail or civilization or Bigfoot's outhouse. I don't care." Marcus didn't argue this time. We picked a direction and walked. Fast. No talking. Just movement. After maybe half an hour, we stopped. Mostly because we realized we weren't sweating at all. Despite the heavy packs and steep incline, I touched my forehead. Dry. Too dry. I looked up. No sun. Just gray. "Are we under cloud cover?" I asked. Marcus checked his weather app. Still no signal. Forecast was sunny. Right. Sunny and possessed. Totally nailed it. We trudged on, and then I made a mistake. I muttered under my breath, "This place is eating us alive." I didn't even mean to say it out loud. Just one of those things that slips out when your brain's playing tug-of-war with your sanity. From the trees, in a voice just slightly higher than mine and far too gleeful, "Eating alive." Oh, hell no. We didn't stop after that. Not even when the trees got tighter. Not even when we passed the same dead squirrel 3 times, always lying belly up, eyes open, like it was waiting for us to notice something we couldn't quite see. Somewhere behind us, footsteps began to mimic ours. And I swear, when I whispered to Marcus, "Did you hear that?" The answer came not from him, but from every direction. "Hear that, hear that, hear that." The only thing worse than hearing something repeat your words is hearing it answer you. After the multi-angled "hear that" chorus, we stood there like 2 kids caught telling ghost stories in a graveyard, too proud to admit we were scared, too terrified to take a step. "Okay," Marcus said carefully. "Maybe there's a logical—" "Nope," I interrupted. "No logic here. Logic checked out back when my own voice started freelancing behind the trees." He looked at me, not amused. "We don't panic. We're just off trail. The sounds are weird. It's probably an acoustic anomaly, like the canyon effect." I pointed at a tree. "Anomaly, huh? Explain that." There, carved into the bark, was our names. Marcus, Liam, and below them, "Stay together." The cuts were deep, as if gouged by something sharp and impatient. Fresh sap oozed from the wounds like the tree was crying. "I didn't do that," I said quickly. "Neither did I." We just stood there looking at it. "Why would it say that?" Marcus asked, voice hushed. I shrugged. Maybe the forest ships us as a couple. Even I didn't laugh at that one. It felt wrong saying anything too human here. That was when we heard something move, snap, off the trail to the right. "Rabbit?" I asked. "No rabbits," Marcus said, almost absently. "No anything." He was right. In normal woods, things move. Birds flap, bugs buzz, animals scamper. These woods had all the personality of a vacuum-sealed coffin. Another snap. We both turned in unison and saw nothing, just trees. Gnarled, moss-covered, and vaguely hunched, like they were eavesdropping. "I think it's watching us," I said. "What is?" "I don't know. But it's using us to practice." Marcus gave me a look. "Practice? You ever play a game with an echo?" "No." "Well, this one's playing back. It's learning, improving." I watched his face pale a shade, and for a moment I felt bad. Then I reminded myself that he suggested we take the fun mystery path into the void. He turned to me. We stay together. We keep moving. One of us says something dumb. The other doesn't repeat it. Copy that, I said. Then the forest chimed in cheerfully. Copy that. We froze. Marcus looked at me. That wasn't you? Nope. He leaned closer. Liam, are you messing with me? I leaned in too. I don't have the lungs or the free time to pull that off. Suddenly his face dropped. Wait, what did you just say? I blinked. What? You said something just now, about time. No, I didn't. His eyes scanned the trees. You did. It wasn't me, and it wasn't right. Marcus, I said slowly, I swear on every granola bar in my pack I didn't say anything. We both stared at each other. Neither of us was breathing too deeply. Then the voice came again, just behind Marcus. Wasn't right. It was my voice, but not my tone. Marcus spun. That sounded like you. I said nothing, because he was right. It did, but like I had said it while dreaming, that was the moment we both silently, mutually, entirely agreed. We don't split up. We don't wander off. We follow one rule, stay together. Of course, the woods had already written it down for us. And I should have known then, when a forest gives you advice, it's probably because it wants one of you for itself. I'm not saying the forest was alive. That would be silly. I'm just saying it acted alive, listened like it was alive, and might have tried to adopt us like it was lonely and didn't understand boundaries. Like a very large, very leafy stalker. We walked without talking for a long time, which, given the circumstances, was probably the smartest thing we'd done since stepping onto Echo Trail. I could feel the tension in Marcus, like a rubber band stretched way too far. He was always the calm one, the rational one, the guy who didn't flinch when lightning hit 20 feet away. But now he looked like he was doing advanced calculus behind his eyes just to stop from running. The trail twisted downhill into a gully where the trees leaned close, like they were whispering secrets about us to each other. I hated that thought the moment I had it because a second later I heard faintly my own voice muttering it back. Not Marcus. Me. From the trees. That was new. We didn't talk about it. We just kept going. And that's when we found the fork. It came out of nowhere. 1 minute, it was a single narrow path. Next minute, bam, 2 diverging trails, splitting apart like they were competing for who could disappear first. No signpost, no markings, just 2 options, left or right, both identical, both ominous in a pick-your-preferred method of the doom kind of way. Marcus stared at the fork like it had grown teeth. This wasn't here before, he said. Nope. We've been walking straight. Yep. He looked left, then right. Any idea which way is better? Oh, definitely, but I'm not telling you. He didn't laugh. That was fair. I didn't laugh either. I glanced back the way we'd come, and nearly swore. The trail behind us was gone. Just gone. No trampled brush, no broken branches, no cord-marked trees. It was like we'd stepped forward, and the path behind us had been vacuumed up by an overzealous god with obsessive-compulsive landscaping tendencies. Marcus saw it too. His breath went shallow. So, I said, left or right? He pointed left. I'll scout. You stay. Nope. Stay together, remember? He shook his head. Just a quick look, 2 minutes tops. Famous last words. He gave me a half smile and stepped into the left path. I watched him go maybe 20 yards and vanish around a bend. And that was the last time I saw Marcus the way he was. The seconds stretched. 1 minute, 2, 3. I called out quietly. No answer. Then I heard him say, Liam, you coming? But it wasn't from the left path. It was from the right. My whole body clenched. I turned toward the right path, heart hammering. Liam, the voice said again, but softer, like it was pretending to be casual, like it was mimicking concern. I didn't move. Then I heard him again, back from the left. Hey, I found something weird. Come here. 2 Marcuses, or neither. I looked back and forth like an idiot caught in a Scooby-Doo mirror trap. That's when I realized something that made my skin crawl. Neither voice had echoed. No delay, no mimicry, just voices. Smooth, deliberate, practiced. It had gotten better. I took a step back. Marcus, I said, testing. 2 voices answered. One said, yeah. The other, over here, and both sounded exactly like him. I didn't choose either trail. I turned around and walked straight into the trees, off path, no compass, no direction, just gut instinct. Because the gut was screaming, and this time I listened. I don't remember how long I walked. 10 minutes? 30? Time on Echo Trail had no intention of being helpful. My only goal was simple. Keep moving. Don't talk. Don't listen. The trees were packed tighter off the trail, like they resented me breaking the rules. Branches snagged my sleeves. Moss slicked every root. Once I slipped and face-planted into a bed of leaves that smelled like old copper. But it was worth it, because I got away from the fork, or so I thought. I found Marcus again maybe a half-mile later. He was sitting on a flat rock in a clearing that hadn't been there 5 seconds earlier, elbows on knees, face buried in his hands. His pack was next to him. The same navy blue pack with the goofy Bigfoot patch he always insisted was for luck. I should have been relieved. Should have run to him, hugged him, apologized for not following him down that awful fork. But here's the thing. He didn't look up. Not when I stepped on a twig. Not when I called his name. Not even when I stood 5 feet away and said, "Marcus, hey." He just sat there, still as a statue, his hands shaking like he was trying to hold something in, or hold something from getting out. Finally, he raised his head, smiled. The wrong kind of smile. You know how someone who's never smiled before tries to? The muscles too tight, the angle a little too horizontal, like they'd seen a YouTube tutorial on how to be human and gave it their best shot. That smile crawled across Marcus's face like it was dragging itself there. "Hey," he said. 1 word, 2 syllables. Nothing wrong with it. Except it was half a beat too slow, like the audio didn't sync with the visual. "Where'd you go?" I asked. "I was here the whole time." "You walked down the left trail." He blinked. "No, you did." Something in my spine fizzed. "No," I said, slower. "I watched you walk down it. You told me to stay." He tilted his head slightly, smile still plastered there like wallpaper you regret choosing. "You okay?" I asked. "I'm fine." Another half-beat delay. Okay, maybe I'm paranoid. Maybe he was in shock. But Marcus never said, "I'm fine." He always said, "I'm good." It was one of those things you only notice when it's gone. He stood, brushing imaginary dirt from his pants. "Let's keep going." "Which way?" He pointed left. "That way. We came from the other side." I didn't correct him. Not yet. We walked. He led. I watched everything he did. He didn't drink water, didn't wipe sweat, didn't check his compass, didn't crack a joke when I tripped over a root, which was practically a ritual at that point. I said something about the silence, how it was too quiet again. He didn't respond, just smiled, that stretched, fake video game NPC smile. And that's when I realized I'd never heard him breathe. Not once since I'd found him. Not a single inhale or exhale. My stomach twisted. My mind spun. I tried to come up with rational explanations. Shock, dehydration, a mild stroke, a new hobby in creepy forest cosplay. Anything but what I was actually thinking. That this wasn't Marcus. Not really. Not anymore. And if that was true, then the real Marcus hadn't come back from that fork. Something else had. They say the best way to tell if you're dreaming is to read something twice. In dreams, words shift, letters scramble, meanings melt. I was about to apply that same principle on Marcus. We were walking through what looked like the same stretch of forest we'd already seen 20 times. No birds, no bugs, no breeze. Just the crunch of boots on leaves and Marcus, humming a tune he never hummed before. A slow, tuneless thing that reminded me of elevator music if the elevator only went down. I started small, subtle. "Hey," I said, keeping my tone casual, "remember that storm we got stuck in last year, on Bald Knob?" He smiled, didn't look at me. "Yeah." "Brutal, right? I thought for sure we were going to have to spend the night under that little red canoe." He nodded. "That was rough." I stopped walking. We've never owned a red canoe, never even rented one. I made that up. He took 2 more steps before stopping, realizing I wasn't beside him anymore. He turned and blinked. "What's wrong?" I shrugged. "Just checking something." He gave me that smile again. Too many teeth. All evenly spaced, perfectly clean. Marcus used to have this one molar stained from his obsession with black coffee. Now, pearly whites straight from a toothpaste commercial. We kept walking. I tried again. "So, you and Jen still talking?" He blinked. "Yeah, every night." "You told me you two broke up in April." "No, that was last April." "Nope, I was there. I was the one who brought him ice cream and watched Die Hard 2 with him while he pretended to not be crying." Strike two. I tried not to look nervous or suspicious. I just kept filing every wrong answer into a mental folder labeled, "Definitely not Marcus." It was getting harder to keep the jokes up, harder not to bolt. But then I remembered the one thing this place hated: silence. The more we talked, the more it listened, the more it mimicked. So I did something bold, or stupid, or both. I stopped walking, looked right at him and said, "What's my middle name?" He hesitated, just for a second, but that second was long enough to set every alarm bell in my body clanging. "James," he said. "Wrong, it's Thomas. Has been for 30 years. I only told him that joke once, the fake middle name, to mess with a girl we were hiking with." He remembered the lie, not the truth. And that's when I knew. I wasn't hiking with Marcus. I was hiking with a doppelganger. That night we set up camp, or rather I pretended to, while keeping one eye on him. He didn't help. He just watched. Like he didn't know how to help, or maybe like he was waiting to see how I did it. I lay in my tent, pretending to sleep. Somewhere around 2 a.m., I heard movement. Not animal, not wind. Footsteps circling my tent in slow, deliberate loops. Then a voice, my voice, just outside the nylon. "Liam, you awake?" I held my breath. A pause. "You said we'd stay together." It wasn't angry. It wasn't sad. It sounded disappointed. Then came a second voice, also mine, softer. "I liked it better when you laughed." I shut my eyes and gripped my knife, like that would do anything, because the thing outside wasn't just repeating me anymore. It was practicing being me. I didn't sleep. I just lay there in the dark, counting my breaths, knife gripped like it was a security blanket with a blade. The fake Marcus had gone quiet. Whatever was outside, if anything was outside, had moved on or melted back into the woods. Either way, I wasn't poking my head out to confirm. Morning light finally filtered through the nylon walls of my tent, or what passed for morning light here. It was more like the forest dimmed the sun through layers of mossy filter paper, turning everything a kind of mildewed gray. I emerged slowly, every muscle braced for something wrong, and there he was. "Marcus." He sat by the dead fire pit, legs crossed, arms limp in his lap, head tilted too far to one side, like a puppet whose strings had just been cut, but the puppeteer still wanted to see what happened. "You okay?" I asked, voice dry. He nodded, one sharp motion. "Slept great." I doubted that, mostly because he hadn't blinked in at least 20 seconds. I faked a smile. "I'm going to look around, stretch my legs." He didn't respond, didn't follow. Good, I moved quickly and quietly, pushing deeper into the woods without a plan. Just distance. That was all I wanted, distance between me and that thing. I found a clearing about 20 minutes later. At first it looked empty. Just an oblong patch of flattened grass surrounded by trees that felt too still. Then I heard it, my voice, not recent, not sentences, fragments, echoes of things I'd said yesterday, maybe hours ago, tumbling around like lost thoughts. Not the birds, too quiet, check the compass again. "Hey Marcus, wait up. Stay together, stay together, stay together." It sounded like a chorus of me, badly synced, overlapping. It would have been funny if it weren't so bone-deep horrifying. I turned slowly. The trees at the edge of the clearing had carvings on them, deep, deliberate ones. Some were words, some were just shapes. But the worst part? One of the trees had a face, my face, rough, bark chiseled, but unmistakable, wide eyes, open mouth, etched like it had been screaming when the knife hit it. Beneath it, scratched in looping spirals, "I can be you." That's when I saw the pack, navy blue, Bigfoot patch, torn at the zipper, Marcus's pack. I ran to it half expecting to find nothing inside. Instead, I found something I'll never forget. A hand, just a hand, fingers curled tight around a compass that still spun like it had stage fright. It wasn't just a hand, though. I'd recognize that scar across the knuckles anywhere. Marcus got it during a camping trip in college, trying to impress a girl by opening a can of beans with a Bowie knife. Spoiler, the beans won. He got stitches. I dropped it, stumbled back, and that's when I 100% knew. Whatever I'd been walking with, talking with, it wasn't Marcus. It never was. He never came back from that fork, or maybe he did, just in pieces. The echo didn't just copy us, it hollowed us out, replaced us. Or maybe it just wore us like a coat until it fit right. Behind me I heard it again. Footsteps. I didn't turn around, I just ran. And somewhere behind me a voice called out, "Liam, hey, I found something weird, come here." Just like before. Perfectly practiced, painfully familiar, and entirely wrong. You ever try running through the woods while your brain is unraveling like a dropped ball of yarn? It's like trying to sprint in a nightmare. Your body goes forward, but your thoughts keep looping back. Marcus was dead. Marcus had been dead. And I'd been chatting with his cosplay understudy for who knows how long. The trees didn't want to let me go. Every root grabbed my boots. Every branch slapped my face like it was saying, "Where do you think you're going?" But I didn't stop, not until the light started changing. It wasn't sunlight filtering through trees. It was red, not warm, cozy red. More like the red you see behind your eyelids when you press too hard. Vascular, pulsing, wrong. I skidded to a stop at the edge of another clearing. This one had no sound at all. No wind, no birds, no fake echoes, just a circle of trees, and in the center a totem. A weirdly smiling, inhumanly shaped totem. At its base, footprints. 2 sets, mine and Marcus's. Except his weren't made by boots. They were made by something that had forgotten what feet looked like. Behind me, I heard a branch snap. I turned slowly. Fake Marcus stood 10 feet away, half in shadow, but he wasn't trying anymore. His skin had started to slouch off his bones. His features shimmered, slipping in and out of alignment like a corrupted video feed. One moment he had Marcus's grin, the next, my own face, stretched and uncertain, like it wasn't sure how I was supposed to look. And the worst part, he was still smiling. "You left me," he said in a voice that flickered between mine and his. I raised my knife, because that's what you do, right? You raise a knife. As if it'll help against something that doesn't even bleed, something that doesn't need bones to move or a throat to speak. "I know what you are," I said. It didn't deny it, just tilted its head, my head, and stepped closer. "You talk too much," it said. "Easy to learn." I took a step back. It matched me. "You're not the first," it said. "But you're funny. I like funny." "Then you'll love this," I said, pulling the flare from my pack. I'd packed it for signaling, or, dramatic exits. I struck it. Bright red light hissed to life, bathing the woods in hellish glow. The creature hissed, or maybe that was the woods around it. Either way, it staggered back, face twitching between versions like it couldn't hold its disguise under the light. I ran again past the totem, deeper into the trees. This time the forest screamed, like 100 broken radios tuned to different stations, all trying to tell me something I couldn't understand. The light burned down to embers in minutes, and still I ran. Behind me I could hear it following, just matching me. Footstep for footstep, breath for breath, voice for voice. "Liam," it whispered in perfect sync. "Where are you going?" I didn't answer, not this time, because I'd figured it out. Every word I gave it, it kept. Every phrase, every memory, every story. It was building something with my pieces. So from then on, I stayed quiet, and I started looking for a way to burn this place to the ground. Here's a question that haunted me once the adrenaline wore off. How do you outrun something that already knows how and where you'd run? Every shortcut you'd think of, it's already taken it. Every fear you have, it's already whispered it. I found a shallow cave wedged between 2 rocks and collapsed inside, chest heaving, lungs chewing air like I just escaped a burning building. The flare had fizzled out long ago. I was back in shadow. But it hadn't followed me here. Not yet. I sat there in the silence, clutching my knees like a kid in timeout, trying to figure out the rules. Every horror has rules, right? That's the only way you survive. Learn the pattern before the pattern learns you. And that's when it clicked. It didn't just copy us, it learned about us. Echo Trail wasn't just named for some spooky voice trick, it was a warning. The trail didn't just echo your words, it collected them, fed on them. Every time we talked, it added a piece to the blueprint. Every story, every joke, every memory. I was building a better doppelganger with every word I gave away. That's why it responded wrong at first. The red canoe, Jen, my middle name, it was still learning the algorithm. I wasn't the victim, I was the tutorial. So I stopped talking. Cold turkey, which, if you knew me, was basically a death sentence. My mouth had always been my best tool and worst liability. But I stayed silent. And that's when something weird happened. I could hear the forest, not the fake echo voices, but something deeper, like the creaking of an old house at night. A groaning, shifting sound barely audible beneath the soil. The trees weren't just trees, they were antennae, memory sticks, bioorganic repeaters. Every bark carving, every footprint, every breath soaked into them like ink on blotting paper. Echo Trail was a living library, and I'd become its favorite audiobook. That realization came with another. I needed to erase myself, or at least erase the version of me it had collected. I pulled out the only thing I hadn't used yet, my emergency lighter, a cheap plastic click top that smelled faintly of gasoline and regret. I walked back. Yeah, I went back. Through the woods, past the trees that still whispered my thoughts like they were rehearsing bedtime stories. Back to the clearing with the inhumanely smiling totem. It was waiting for me. Fake Marcus. Or maybe it wasn't pretending anymore. It looked like a wax sculpture that had melted and been refrozen mid-sag. The skin barely clung to the shape, and still it smiled. "You came back," it said. I said nothing. It stepped closer. "Don't you want to know what happened to Marcus?" I clenched the lighter. "He screamed," it said. "He gave me everything." I lit the flame. The thing flinched. I moved fast, like ripping off a bandage, and shoved the flame into the base of the totem. Dry leaves and twine at the base. They all caught fast. The fire roared up like it had been waiting for the excuse. The forest screamed again, not with voices, but with a kind of vibrating pressure in my skull. The echoes shrieked and twisted, confused, broken, undone. And the thing in Marcus's shape? It ran like it had just remembered what fear was. And I, finally, started laughing again. The fire burned fast, unnaturally fast. The totem cracked apart with the sound of wet wood and snapping bone, and the smoke wasn't gray or black, it was red, a deep arterial red, like something inside the forest was bleeding out. The ground shook beneath me, not violently, just enough to let me know the trail wasn't happy. The trees groaned in unison, and for a moment I felt like I'd kicked a hornet's nest that spanned for miles underground. But whatever I'd done, it worked. The echoes stopped. No more footsteps that weren't mine. No more voices that wore my throat like a costume. No more fake Marcus grinning like he'd just aced an audition to be me. It was over, mostly. I hiked out of there like a man crawling from a cave-in. The trail had rearranged itself. Landmarks returned. The sun was visible again, weak and yellow, like it had been dimmed behind a filter for hours, and someone had finally peeled it off. Eventually I found the real trail again. The real Appalachian Trail, with real hikers and real birdsong and a pair of middle-aged women arguing over trail mix proportions. And just like that, the world moved on, totally unaware that I'd spent the last 2 days being slowly replaced by a voice in the trees. I didn't tell anyone, not at first. What would I even say? Hi, I lost my best friend to a mimic made of bark and madness, and also I might still be carrying pieces of it inside me. How was your weekend? Yeah, pass. Instead, I checked into a motel, took the longest, hottest shower of my life, burned my clothes in a metal trash can out back like a lunatic, slept with the light on, double-checked every time I spoke aloud that it was actually me saying it. It wasn't until 2 weeks later, after my third nightmare about hearing Marcus laugh with my own voice, that I told someone, not in person, online, Reddit, of course, because where else do you go to confess to being haunted by your own echo? I posted under a throwaway account, typed every detail, Every carved name, every twisted smile, every mimicry told them everything. And when I hit post, I felt lighter. Not healed, not okay, but real. Like maybe the trail hadn't kept all of me. I got a lot of responses, some jokes, some trolls. But a few sounded like they'd walked it too, people describing offshoots they couldn't find again, stories of friends who came back a little off, echoes that weren't echoes, places where sound traveled wrong. Apparently, Echo Trail isn't just one place. It's wherever the forest gets hungry enough. I was about to close my laptop when my phone buzzed. A notification, new voicemail from an unknown number. I frowned, pressed play, and my own voice filled the room. "Hey, it's me. I just wanted to say, thanks for the story." Click. I stared at the screen, my stomach turned to ice because I hadn't said that. I never recorded that. I backed away from the phone like it might bite me, laughed once, dry, brittle, humorless, and then someone knocked on my apartment door. A pause, and a voice said from the hallway, "Liam, you in there?" It was Marcus's voice.